Good morning and welcome to the War Thunder Dev server. I am your host, Old Dead Man. I do apologize. Normally I would do a live stream where I would be able to interact with all of you as part of these dev server reviews. Unfortunately, this morning I got a phone call from my wife. She had gotten a flat tire on the way to work. And so I ended up spending this morning dealing with car things. And then when I got home, I found out that my streaming software wasn't working either. I think I've got all that ironed out, but it's a little bit late in the day to be starting up a live stream, at least at this point in time. So let's get rolling and get you informed as to what's coming in the next patch of War Thunder Winged Lions. Now, obviously, this is the dev server. There's incorrect things. There's broken things. There's of course, all kinds of insanity as far as numbers and figures and facts and pictures and images, all being incorrect. So, and I'll tell you honestly, this dev server came so fast. We had dev blogs for literally less than a week, and we're doing multiple dev blogs. They're clearly trying to crank this patch and this update out on a pretty fast basis. So this one caught me off guard. That said, we're going to get in there and we're going to see what they've got. The link to the changelog is in the description below, so feel free to jump over there and take a look. We'll be going through the vehicles by country, not by type, so we'll quickly get through this, and then we'll kind of quickly review the things that are going on the as far as the rest of the notes and things like that in the patch notes. Now, one thing of note, there are certain vehicles that didn't make it into this dev server. One of them is the Challenger 2 TES. It did not make it into the first dev server. My guess is it's not quite ready enough to even hit the dev yet. So let's go through what we do have and see what kind of exciting things are there. On the US side, we're starting off with the XM975. This is an anti-aircraft Roland launcher system on a US-made chassis. The Roland missiles are already very familiar. They are manually guided, not infrared or anything like that. So we're just going to guide this right into that. Oh, it did not hit. I'm surprised. He moved. Got him anyway. Aha! The Roland missiles are not really going to be doing much against ground targets at the BR in question, but they are still have a little bit of penetration, so they might be able to do something for you if you are willing to try and experiment. The test shots I've done on various... Wow. Come on. First time I did this test yesterday evening, I was knocking them out of the air without any issues. This time, apparently, I'm not allowed to have nice things. There we go. Now, I've not had any luck knocking out the test drive ground targets with these Roland missiles. I'm certain they're already familiar. But some of the small and light vehicles might still be vulnerable to these low penetration missiles. So keep that in mind. As long as the target doesn't know it's coming, it's real easy to put a missile up their nose or their tailpipe. Now, as you'll recall from previous dev server live streams, there is one aspect that we definitely have to do, and that is, of course, the will it float test. So tell me, will it float? No, it will not float. And there she goes. She's dead. Anyway, it's an interesting addition. I think that having this type of manually guided anti-air missile is actually a good thing. Even if you wouldn't normally be all hot to trot for, not having infrared or something like that. There's something very satisfying for being the one that guides that missile right on in. Ooh, looks like I've lost it. That must be the new G effects, where it just had to pull too many Gs to be able to pull that lead. So that's interesting. That's an interesting display of those new effects. Not a bad vehicle. I mean, it's now not going to break any performance records. It moves along at about 35 kilometers per hour or so, and on paved roads. It's not bad. It's maneuverable enough. It'll move, and you're not absolutely defenseless against ground targets, unlike some of the vehicles that they've been putting at these upper tiers. That's one of the nice things about these manually guided missiles, is you do have a few more options. Here's the stat card for the XM975 as it exists right now. There are two different types of Roland missiles, the Roland 1 and the Roland 3, and you start off with the Roland 1s. The 3s actually have, I think it's 50-something, 58 millimeters or 57 millimeters of penetration, which, again, for some lightly armored vehicles, it might actually get through there. 54 millimeters. Next up is the F-105 Thunder Chief. This is the F-105D. There were some concerns that it would end up underneath the B-57 line, and it is right now, at least as on the dev server. One of the comments said they would rather see it over here around the F-100D, but this is where they've stuck it, at least for now. Myself, I don't have any problems with that, except for the fact that it is not actually classified as a bomber to go into this jet bomber line. My only concern with having it over here in this lineup is that it's not classified as a bomber. It's classified as a strike aircraft, which would actually put it more into the next line over to the left. Here's the stat card for the F-105D, at least as it's stock. And we'll take a look at the secondary weapon options here. Is there anything else in the U.S. Inventory with a 3,000-pound bomb? I don't recall seeing it before, but that just might mean that I've not paid that close of attention. There's, of course, the more venerable 1,000 and 2,000 pounds, the 750-pounders, the bullpups, the just all the normal things. It does actually have the ability to carry AIM-9Es and AIM-9Bs, which will be useful. And overall, you've got a whole lot of ordnance options. This is going to be a whole lot of boom that you can bring into any circumstances or situations. They did update the model on the OS2U 1 and 3. And it looks pretty current. You know, it's a good-looking, sharp little aircraft. Germany gets another little light tracked vehicle here, the DF-105. Got a 105 millimeter cannon. Should be pretty effective. It's didn't check the PR, but looking pretty good so far. It'll be just another powerful addition to the German lineup. Really, I mean, the German tanks are really, really good. On the plus side, this cannon can definitely kill things and should do a pretty good job. The 105 millimeter cannon is still capable of taking out pretty much anything you can see. Of course, we've got to double check. Will it float? No, it does not float. They need to make this water a little deeper so it's funnier. That's what they really need to do. All right, let's go take a look at its statistics here. Here's the stat card for the DF-105. 70 kilometer per hour top speed. I'm not so sure I believe that one, but maybe. Looks like you'll be starting out with all your effective rounds. Here's some details on those rounds. And the smoke shell will be the only one you can actually research. So you'll be pretty much as effective as you can be right off the bat, at least from ammunition perspective. It does look like it's currently going to come in at 7.3, so it should be a pretty effective little critter, expanding the already very effective German line. And on things that will definitely pass the will it float test, we have the Scharnhorst. A great battle cruiser or battleship, depending on how you want to classify it, with 283 millimeter guns, a 9-gun broadside, triple mounts, a whole bunch of secondary weapons, and of course the ability to launch that float plane. It does move along at a pretty sturdy 50 kilometer per hour clip, and at 37,000 ton displacement, it's definitely going to be able to pull its weight. The scout plane functionality will be the interesting and fun part. They did note that it should default to the letter U for launching the scout plane. And on the German coastal fleet, we've got the Flüsse 1, which should be a great anti-aircraft gun for basically a motor gunboat for your use in the coastal fleet there, the coastal battles. These should be a lot of fun. It's got enough firepower to take out pretty much anything it's going to see at battle rating 2.7 and do it in a pretty short order. You may find yourself spending more time on the Flak 36s, the 37 millimeter cannons, because you're more likely to see vehicles where that higher fire rate makes the bigger difference than that heavier hitting 88 millimeter. And then we have the 2S3M, which is listed as a tank destroyer, but I would put it as more of an artillery piece from the design. The self-propelled artillery here should still, with its enormous gun, these HE shells actually are doggone good. They fly at a fairly decent rate. and so there shouldn't be any real trouble getting these on target. That said, it could definitely use some reload speed enhancements. The vehicle itself is decently speedy. It gets up into the mid-30s, and it'll hold that. As soon as you turn, you lose a lot of speed, though, so keep that in mind. You're only going to keep that speed as long as you're going in pretty much a straight line. And of course, will it float? But of course not. I'm surprised. I thought Russia made all the amphibious vehicles these days. And here's the actual stat card. It's a 152 millimeter 2A33 cannon with a 5.9 second degree per second turret rotation and a 17.3 second stock reload rate. It's nothing to write home about, but you know, if you like those types of big derpy guns, especially a BR 6.3, you're probably going to be in good shape. To be honest, I'd like it better than the non-turreted tank destroyers already. I am not fond of not having a turret. It does have a variety of ammunition options. Starting off with the HE shell is going to be a bit of a pain, but you do have the heat shell here, an APHE BC shell with 166 millimeters of penetration, high explosive fragmentation shell, and the fun one, the high explosive variable time fuse shell. Now, I'm going to be looking to see videos of you guys managing to put this down helicopters and everything else with this particular shell. It'll be particularly fun if it will also work as it goes over the rooftop of enemy tanks. If it'll do that, that might be your go-to shell. And at the tippity top of the Russian attacker line, basically, it's not really a bomber, so a strike aircraft, I'm sure, is the MiG-27K, battle rating 11.0, rank 7. We got a pretty fast mover right here with, of course, a typical jet turn time. The rate of climb is good, but not the best I've seen. It should be an interesting little guy. Let's back off and check out the secondary weapons. Some 500s, some R60s, S8KOs. Pretty garden variety little mix there. I'm not seeing any new technology that I haven't seen before, at least. I'm sure there probably is some. I'm just not identifying it. Here's its stat card if you'd like to take a look at that. And for the surprise, there's a new squadron vehicle being introduced, the Su-22M3. Should be an interesting little addition here. Let's take it up into the air and see what it handles like, at least as it is. Stock. Gets off the runway in a reasonable distance. Yeah, we're moving. We're moving along pretty good. Only 160 cannon rounds and flares. We do have flares, which I'm not even sure I have a key map to the flares, to be brutally honest. We're going to overtake this F-86F like a house of fire. There's no question in my mind. Getting close. Good. Good. And... ooh. Short bursts. There it goes. Aha! All right. Actually, it handles pretty well. I'll bet you when it's upgraded, it'll be really good. Here's the stat card as it is right now. 2190 kilometers per hour. It'll move. A better rate of climb than the MiG-27. And a variety of secondary weapon loadout options. Should be a pretty good aircraft, really. About as good as anything else you're going to find at these upper tiers of the Russian air tree. Now, over on the British side, we have a Seafire. This should be a really fun addition. Haven't seen a whole lot of World War II era aircraft coming these days, but the Seafire is a pretty iconic little piece of kit. Should combine the heavier abilities, the heavier frame associated with landing on aircraft carriers, with the performance and capabilities of a standard Spitfire. So, it should be a really good one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you definitely got that Spitfire handling characteristics. Let's see, this thing, does it have the float carb? No, it does not. Very nice. It didn't cough out as soon as I went into negative G's. See, we're closing on the ground target. Now, I don't have any bombs or anything on it right now. We'll see what it can carry in just a moment. But in the meantime, let's see how it pulls out of dives and going after these ground targets over here. Vehicle, medium tank. Okay. That's probably the Studebaker truck right there. Oh, yeah, it's got that classic Spitfire handling. Probably won't turn quite as well, be my guess, but yeah, definitely does well. Has good handling characteristics. Very responsive. And that's just the kind of things you like on a fighter like this, especially at these propeller BRs. All right, looks like it doesn't have any secondary ordnance loadout options, but it does have 20 millimeters and 4 30 caliber machine guns. So the 20 millimeters will give you that killing power, and the 30 calibers will give you that staying power, so you can stay in the fight for a pretty long time. Good dogfighter. I suspect you're going to be looking at a lot of these in the air, just because I think it'll be really good. It is a BR 5.0. Rank 4. This is a good spot for British aircraft. It keeps you out of the jet tiers, and yet gives you that good performance that you need for this type of level. By the way, France is also getting a Seafire as well, so I will not be addressing that one later, but you're looking at basically the same information. Here's the stat card for one more quick look. Over in Japan, we're getting the Japanese Type 10. It's going to be another good top-tier tank for use in ground RB. It's the cannon is effective. The vehicle is maneuverable. It's probably going to be slightly less powerful as far as maneuverability than the Type 90. Even though it's lighter, it also has a slightly weaker engine. That said, it does have quite a few of the good features. Basically, you take everything good about the Type 90 and you give it just that little extra kick. And it'll do a good job of doing all those things. It does have hydropneumatic suspension, and I did test that the other day. I did a couple of matches, just a couple of test drives of it yesterday just to see if it would work. And the hydropneumatic suspension does work. Good handling, really. The gun and the ammunition will have, you'll actually have access to an even better APFSDS, also called the Type 10. So keep that in mind. You're going to have a lot of good things going on with this tank. Biggest problem you're going to have is, well, your teams. This is a good tank, and you're going to have to keep an eye on what's going on. You're going to have to hope you get a good team, though, because without a good team, you're pretty much out of luck. And, of course, will it float? Bloosh. No, it does not float. In fact, it even gets almost underwater. Nice. By the way, 3-man crew means your survivability is going to be challenging. They killed both your turret crew. You are out of luck. And once again, we have something that definitely passes the will it float test. The JDS Harukaze DD-101 is going to be coming in with 3 5-inch guns, 2 40mm Bofors guns. Actually, make that 8 40mm Bofors guns. They're in quad mounts. And just a good little destroyer here. Should be pretty darn good. Does have the Hedgehog mortars. Does not, I don't think, have any torpedo tubes, which will limit its utility to a certain extent. But, hey, if they can take on the Yamato with 5-inch guns, then this thing should do just fine. Battle rating 4.0, you're getting into things that are a little bit harder to face at this BR, but you should be able to do it. It should do all right. Here's the stat card if you want to take a look at that. And it does get both hedgehogs and depth charges as options for its secondary weapons. China, on the other hand, is only getting 1 propeller plane so far in the patch. It's the LA-11, another Russian-designed aircraft. Yeah, pretty much garden variety, 23mm cannons, 634 kilometer per hour top speed. It'll do all right. 5.3 is probably a touch higher than I would put it, but it's probably not that bad. And here it is in the tree just before the LA9. Now this should be an interesting addition to the Italian tree, the VCC 8060 60mm auto HVG cannon, which was already familiar at 9.0. Seems a little steep, but I'll bet you it'll do better than we expect. With a top speed of 70 kilometers per hour, that seems to be their popular number this time, so I'm expecting that number to change. But crew of 3, top speed of 70 kilometers per hour, should be pretty decent. You're going to have to hide, though, because it's got no armor. Make sure you're sneaky when you're driving it. And here it is at 9.0 after the Centauro 105R, and before this, oh, sorry, I got to say it right, the Centauro 120. It will come with the ability to get an HEVT shell, and we all know what that means. You're going to have to kill some planes with it at some point in time. The M300 looks like it's got pretty decent penetration for this level. Its real benefit is going to be its 2-second reload rate. Over in France, they do have the new Leclerc S21, I got to say that right. Rank 7, battle rating 11.0. I'd be surprised if it doesn't actually bump up to 11.3. 120mm with a 50 caliber machine gun. We got a reload rate of 6 seconds, but I think that if that will get better. That's at least what I'm thinking. The turret rotation speed is not particularly special. I would like to see higher, but I don't know the details. 70 kilometers per hour, decent little piece of equipment. It should do all right. You French mains will know better than I do, but it looks good. Looks real good. Here's its stat card. And you'll have options for a Heat FS, an APFS DS, doing 425 millimeters of penetration, and an even better one at 575 millimeters of penetration. As a reminder, France is also getting a Seafire LF Mark III. Same specs from everything I'm seeing here as the one in the British tree. So, looks like it'll be another fun aircraft for you to mess around with in France. Sweden's only addition this time is the BCAN 1C. I don't know, Bandkanon, there we go, Bandkanon 1C. I'm sure I'm butchering that pronunciation. But that this is an artillery piece is what it is. With the 155 millimeter cannon, it only comes with an HE shell. So let's take a quick look at what that actually brings to the table. The HE shell gets 58 millimeters of penetration with 7.5 kilograms of explosive mass TNT, according to this right here. It should, anything you hit should go kablooey if you hit it properly. So let's go ahead and do a test drive here and see what it does. Obviously, we're going to blow up the AA gun. Oh, look at that reload rate. That is what's going to be its specialty right there. Reload rate that fast, and I am just popping everything in sight. Nice. Now that, of course, didn't do anything, so let's see if we can pop it in the turret. Yep, there it goes. And let's see, let's go a little bit higher here. One hit wonder there. Its downside is going to be the fact that it only has, I believe it's 13 shells. But if you can deal with 13 shells, that's the potential for 13 kills. And with a reload rate this fast, even if you don't kill them on the first one, the second one is literally on tap. So fast. This is going to be a fun one. If for no other reason than being able to pop those targets that fast. Like it so far. Now, it does have a limited turret traverse, but it's responsive in its range. So that's going to be going to be nice. And you don't have to wait too long. It doesn't seem to get bouncing all that much. I think it just isn't getting fast enough. I mean, that was a shot on the move. So if I'm only doing about 25 kilometers per hour, the gun is staying relatively stable. And as long as you're on relatively flat ground, that means you should be able to do shots pretty much on the fly and get accurate hits, even though you don't have anything. There's no stabilizer on this vehicle. And of course, here's the required double check here. It's a slow mover, so it'll take a little while to determine this, but I think we all know the answer. So, of course, let's answer the age-old question. Will it float? No, it will not. So that should be a fun addition to the Swedish tree. Only gets the HE shell, and you only get 13 rounds of the stuff. But doggone it, if you can make, 14 rounds of the stuff, but if you can make the most of those 14 rounds, you'll have a ton of fun. And finally, the Israeli air tree and all of its glory. So straight across, I'm just going to slowly scan down the tree here, because 90% of this is all familiar. There might be variations on the vehicles that you're already familiar with, but I mean, Meteors, Oregon, Vator, A4E. It's really not until we get down low into the tree that we finally start hitting things that are new and interesting. Like the Sambad and the Saar, which are both super mysteries. And so they should be a fun little deal. Let's go ahead and just highlight that, and so you can see what the stat card looks like. A little slower than I would like to see, but a slightly better turn time than some of the other vehicles. Rate of climb is definitely lackluster. Let's compare it to the previous Mystere here. Yeah, it's better than the previous one, but still kind of lackluster for the vehicles it's going to be facing. And the Saar, same general thoughts on it as well. The lackluster rate of climb, kind of low on the speed. But let's take a look at some secondary weapons and see if anything jumps out here. Looks pretty garden variety, so I'm not seeing anything new or exciting there. Same thing with the Sambad, which really is lightly loaded. I wonder if there might be more ordnance options coming for this one. And of course the Nesher. Let's go ahead and do a preview of it because it doesn't show on the picture. There we go. Nice ground attack aircraft right there. Battle rating 10.3, rank 7, 2042 kilometers per hour. That's the speeds I'm kind of looking for. Rate of climb still a little bit, but not bad either. The secondary weapons look like so. Bombs, missiles, rockets. Pretty much all the things you'd have guided. Ordnance. So really good. Looks like it's going to be a good ground attack aircraft. I would say that you could use it in ground RB more than anywhere else, except for one problem, and that is that taking airplanes into ground RB at these BRs tends to be suicidal. That's not that it can't be done, just it's harder to do than any other levels or BRs. So this should be a fun addition right here. The entire tree is mostly, I've seen it before, I've flown it before, and that's kind of what leaves me with kind of a meh for it. That said, remember, for the Israeli tree, you'll have to have rank 4 in either the US, Britain, or France aircraft in order to even get into this tree, and that's assuming that you've accomplished the other tasks, as this is closed beta test. Now, as for other changes that are occurring in this patch, the ground strike missions are going to have the actual models of the vehicles that are in game, instead of the generic low poly ones that they've got currently in use on on all basically ground strike missions. That does not include enduring confrontation. As far as location and mission updates on all ground strike missions, except for the novice ones, they're replacing the models of tanks and vehicles with the same ones used in the actual game where they have them, so they won't have the low poly count models anymore. They've added volumetric upper and lower plates to the IS-3, IS-4M, IS-7, T-10A, T-10M, the Object 268, the Tiger 2P, H, and 10.5 centimeter, and the Slaw 16, and the Yog Tiger. They've added the volumetric turret sides on the Tiger 2H, 10.5 centimeter, and the Slaw 16. The aircraft and helicopter model and aircraft, basically weaponry changes. The A-28B 18 centimeter rockets have been removed from weapon presets. Apparently they weren't ever actually used on those vehicles. Aircraft with HVAR and RP-3 rockets now feature separate launches. Hopefully that means that you can do left, right, instead of always having to do two shots at once for it. And the F-4E has got another guided bomb added, the GBU-15V1B. 1 second while I see if I can spot whoever's on C and blow their head off. Not spotting. Aha! Got him. I'm lucky, though. If I hadn't been down that low, he would have totally blown my head off. On the naval changes, they've changed the aiming angles of the AK-630 30mm rotary cannon on the MPK PR-12412. The Yugumo gets the traverse angle aiming angles of the first torpedo launcher increased. The SF-40 Lechty has been the cannons, the 37mm flak cannons have been changed to the 37mm flak 43s. The torpedo type have been changed on a bunch of British vehicles. The Armada, the Brissenden, the Jervis, the Kelvin, the Nepal, the Haida, the Mohawk, the Tribal, the Tobruk, and the ORP Garland. They've also done a ton of ballistic changes. There's just too many to list, so if you're needing to know which ones have got changes in ballistics, you'll need to just jump over there to the link and take a look at what those changes are. The Graf Spee has had the armor corrected. The Parashkaya Komuna, the dynamics of sinking and the behavior of the ship when flooding have been fixed. It doesn't capsize when losing buoyancy up to 60 to 80%. The Raleigh and the Trenton fuel tank model has been added, and I am now dead. I wish I'd realized I didn't see the helicopter coming. But I'll bet you I can bring in something that flies. No, I can't bring in something that flies. No! Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Let's see. Is there anything that can kablooey things? Okay, we'll just take the AIM-9Bs. Select. The Pensacola, the location of the Central Artillery Post and the location of AF ammunition storage for secondary and anti-aircraft artillery has been changed. By the way, it's a lot harder to play this game when you don't have any audible clues, so let me grab these headphones and pop them on. Oh my, that's loud. Turn the volume down a few notches. All right, somebody already got the UH-1B. Is it just me, or does it seem like these jet sounds are maybe a little bit louder than they used to be? Oh, there is something over there. That's a lot of flares. No, that's not flares. That's just shells going off. Okay. Never you mind then. Liverpool and Southampton, armor has been added under the barbettes of the main caliber guns. The Northampton, the elevators have been added for the secondary guns. The M17, the internal geometry of the bow section of the ship has been fixed for the correct calculation of received damage. Okay, let's see. I think I saw something right about there. Okay, there. Roll out, roll out, roll out. Yeah, chopper. I heard it. I don't... Oh, somebody already killed it. Nice. I'm not even sure why I'm in this battle, to be honest. The rate things keep dying. Alright, there's some visual model and visual part changes. Let's see. Customization. A bug has been fixed where the fire arrows achievement might only be completed using unguided rockets. Emblem of some emblems. Oh, they added a tricolor camo to the R3 T106 FA and the T20 FAHS. That'll be nice for those who are big into collecting their camos. They talk about the scouting aircraft in naval battles. You can launch it by default using the letter U. And activate the catapult, same letter U. During flight, you can switch between the aircraft and the ship. As long as the player controls the aircraft, the ship will just basically take a straight course and fire in accordance with whatever settings you last left it with. Whoops, that is a lot of... Oh, that's all dropping. Let's roll out this direction. You can dogfight, you can capture points, you can drop bombs, you can deploy a smoke screen at altitudes up to 50 meters, so no middle-of-the-air smoke screens, and perform long-range scouting. I wonder what they mean by perform long-range scouting. Does that mean you can use the scout button using the aircraft? I'll have to see what that looks like. And there's some sound changes right there. They've got surround sound support for Windows 10. That guy's dead now. Let's roll out again. How much gas do I have? Oh, I don't know how much gas I have. I don't have that setting set right now. Okay, up and over. I'm going to die. I mean, I've got a radar SPAA around here somewhere. And I'm focused on trying to spot ground targets. Whoops. Man, these engines are loud. I'd have to turn this down a few notches. Okay, the sound events of aircraft engines, ground vehicles, as well as aircraft guns, and enemy allied vehicles receive support for improved spatial positioning. Interesting. Worthless, but still. Was that the Type 87? It might have been the Type 87. For the player's ground vehicles, the suspension soundtrack has been implemented when driving over rough terrain. That is, the movement of the suspension arms is now voiced. And some of the jet aircraft received unique engine sounds reflecting the characteristic features of the particular engine model. This work is still in progress. Big shocker there. All right, that's everything that's been listed as coming in this particular update so far. Remember, this is the first dev server. Some things will be added, as we all know. And some things will possibly be changed and fixed. It's all going to depend on what Gaijin has the time to sneak into the patch. Man, that guy's really desperate. He wants a piece of me, something fierce. That was a Falcon. I can't believe it. He should have popped me a long time ago. Now, as far as other things to keep in mind, the British Challenger 2 TES is not going to make it into this dev server. Now, they still should be getting that into the actual game. I don't think that's in question. And I think it'll be coming probably in the second dev server, most likely. It depends on what the status of things are at that point. And I'm going to do something totally nutball, crazy, insane to do in a jet. And see if I can pull it off. I stand a better chance of doing it on the dev server than I would ever in the live server, that's for sure. Here. And more flappies. Oh, gee, that's not what I wanted to hear. Get that pulled back in. Come on, baby. Keep in the air. Keep in the air. Got full landing flaps out. Oh, gear up. Bring a notch of flaps back. And I am burning up my engine at this point. Oh, this is going to be tighter than I wanted. Okay, level it out. Bring another notch of flaps back out. Okay, I had to milk this thing back into the air. Oh, that's because I took some hits. I think I got enough thrust. Woo! Thank goodness. I don't think I was going to make it back to the airfield. And that's the news from Lake Wobegon, as they like to say on public radio. If you have any questions or anything you want me to take a look at, drop it in the comments below. I'll try and take a look and get an answer to you. You have a great rest of your day, and we will see you in War Thunder, possibly in the new patch soon.